Hey everyone, welcome back to Money Wire Work. I got another video for you today. So today I'm going to be going through the Nasdaq SPY. There's something interesting I want to take a look at as far as Tesla, and then we're going to go through some cryptocurrencies. So one of the things that I wanted to do differently today is I wanted to also take a look at the monthly and the hourly. I think from this point on in the channel, I think I'm going to start looking at the hourly as well so that you can do some shorter swing trades. The benefit of the daily and weekly is the further out you go, the better picture you're going to have. With that being said, there's a lot of waiting you can do potentially. At sometimes you get eager and then you get into trades a little early. So in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with getting into weekly and daily trades, swing trades, and tracking those, but also tracking on the hourly. And if you see something good on the hourly, go after that, and then just pay attention to multiple time frames. So if you're looking at anything, you want to look at the monthly. It's something we haven't really taken a look at on video on this channel, but I have been tracking the hourly on the S&P 500 and other tickers. But we're going to start with showing those things on the channel moving forward, and then, like I said, getting into the hourlies. So the first one that I just want to do is bring up the S&P 500 as usual. Now let's just start right away. Let's just go to the monthly right away here. Now if we take a look at the monthly, one of the things that we want to really look at is the TSI, because if you just bring this down, I guess, for a second, look how the TSI tracked the bottom of each recession. Move this over so you can see a little clearer. Turned blue on around June of 2003 for the dot-com bubble. That also signaled the end of the dot-com bubble and started the rally to the comeback. Now, we can't really see when it started to turn blue up here. It did start to turn, red. It started to turn red on the TSI way before we actually had the ending here. So that's a really good signal, though, as far as getting ahead. And we can take a look at Bitcoin and how it actually showed that as well on our latest end of the bull rally, where we had that second bounce up. It actually, the TSI was indicating, from what I remember, we'll take a look at it, but from what I remember, the TSI was indicating a downtrend coming up. But I just wanted to point this out here that, you go up, you're seeing the TSI come down, so you're just paying attention to that. And then when you start to just see these lower highs, or just seeing these highs lose momentum here, right? Because you had this dip, high up, small little dip, high up, big up. Then the dip started to come more and more and more, and then you started to see a downturn. And you can actually see this reflect in all of these green signals on the TSI. And you can also take a look here. Look at how the TSI predicted. It was ahead of the game again, as I said before, with the dot-com bubble. This is the 2008 crash, the financial crisis. It started to signal a turn down. It was over bought on the TSI, started to come back down, and now look at this. Once this turned green and started to move towards closer and closer to this top red line, we already were in recovery mode, and then we started going up. All right, so that's one thing to track. Now, the thing with this right here, as far as the TSI for 2022, the one issue I have as far as whether or not this is the bottom or not is there's a lot of room that this can go down to. I mean, even if this just goes down to the zero line, it's got a lot of room to go down. So it's one thing to watch, but it is also good to just notice that, hey, overall, as far as the month is concerned, we're on that uptrend, and we can turn on the Heikin-Ashi candles and take a look. So right now, we just got one green Heikin-Ashi candle. It's something to watch, but it isn't something that's gonna, you really want to take home to. You really, not something you want to throw all your money into right now. Because look, there's one candle, green candle. There's another one green candle there. There's a one green candle here. Down here, there's another one just before it started to turn down again. So there's that pattern that we have in the S&P 500. And then you start to see that solid green uptrend on the monthly Heikin-Ashi candles. And that starts to signal an overall uptrend. So even if you're playing the hourly, you still want to pay attention to these candles because it's just gonna throw odds in your favor. Okay, so if we take a look at the Nasdaq now, pull that up, we're seeing about the same thing, but with a lot higher Heikin-Ashi green candle here. If we just turn on the regular candles for a second just to see where this month is at, we're about the same right here. I think really this candle was the difference maker the previous month of July. The RSI is, or I'm sorry, the TSI, which basically acts as an RSI, is going to be about the same thing here as far as indicating a change in direction in the overall market. Turn the log on just to see it a little bit easier. Okay, so let's see, what do we want to take a look at? We can zero down on these a little bit here. If we just pull up the S&P 500 again and just go, we can go into the weekly and then narrow it down to the hourly. So we pull up the weekly. What we're seeing right now is we are over all of these moving averages, the 200 here, the 100 here, the 50 here, and then over these multi MAs. And we do have a blue right here, and this is the S&P 500 on the weekly. So this is showing bullish momentum, even a little bit more so than this uptick right here, just because of the TSI is actually showing blue down here, which it wasn't over here. Keep in mind this zero line can now act as a resistance too, so we can see this TSI, we can see it come up. Even if it doesn't reach this line here, you can see it potentially come back down, and this, more or less in a sense would be acting as a resistance line. So when we have, let's just say we go back to 2008 quick. So that was a little bit more drawn out. I'm sorry, I meant the dot-com bubble here. It was a little bit more drawn out than 2008. You can see how it bounced up, hit a resistance, came down, bounced up, hit a resistance, came down a little bit, looked like it was going to get over the zero line off of a higher low, bounced, came back down, and eventually it finally broke through. And it finally broke through. That was when we started to see this uptrend, and that's when you start to see the green on the Heikin-Ashi candles, right? See right here. So let's bring this down to the daily. Now, as we said before, and I'll say it again, I said that we would probably go through this 50-day moving average, and we would probably either hit the 100 or 200 day, and it looks like we are through both the 50 and the 200 day. Now, if we turn on the actual price action for a second, and I took a look at this chart earlier, this was a strong up green candle. So it was looking pretty good, and then we had a pretty big sell-off. Let's just see what the daily looks like here. So you can see pre-market was crazy, and it looked like it was going to continue, but I would say, let's see, 8:30, yeah, I mean, around the afternoon, it started to just sell off, or I should say mid-morning. It started to sell off, and it just started to hit these resistance lines. So it looks like it's consolidating a little bit. We'll see if this actually comes to bounce back up tomorrow. So if you're looking to day trade, if the S&P 500 gets up over this 200 moving average, you could be looking at something to enter into for the day. But let's take a look at it on the hourly, and we'll pull up the Heikin-Ashi candles again. Now, you can see how this can be something you could easily trade, over a week period of time, over 2 weeks, over a couple days, depending on the technical analysis, depending on, what you're looking at. But if you were to come in the price goes over all these moving averages that I said, but it comes down, gives you a higher low bounce and comes up. Let's say you enter, so this would be a good entrance right here on the 19th, and you play it until, either you have a price target percentage wise, or you start to see this red cloud form. You're looking at the 22nd, so that's 3 days later. Okay, so that's a very doable. If you're a busy person, you have another job or a couple jobs, starting a business, short time frames allow you a little bit more flexibility on that, but they do have a little bit more management as far as that's concerned. So you can bring up the Nasdaq right here. Take a look at it on the 1 hour as well. So you're seeing roughly the same thing as the S&P 500. It just has a higher up trend right now. And the Nasdaq has all the tech companies, things like that. So I think this might have been the 19th. Let's see where that. Yep. So 19th right here. 19th, you're at 157.47. And you're actually still in this trade if you're following just the clouds. And you can set your stop loss. So whenever I reference trailing the cloud, I'm also kind of referencing to putting your stop loss either below this cloud right here, or it depends on where it is. You can really put it anywhere you feel like, but a good measurement is just the cloud here. So you're just watching the cloud, you're putting it up here, and then maybe you get stopped out right here, or maybe you get stopped out right here. That's just trading. That's what happens. So we can bring up Tesla next. And we'll go back to the monthly. So we're still on the Heikin-Ashi candles. And so as of right now, we're just seeing one candle right here as far as the Heikin-Ashi uptrend. So this is something that you just want to start putting on your radar. You can even, depending on what the lower time frames are looking at, you can start to enter. Because you're on a green monthly candle. You're also on a green. Oh no, actually, I stand corrected. As far as the actual price action, the real candles, you're on a downtrend right now. So that's a good lesson here. There is a discrepancy with the Heikin-Ashi candles and the actual price action. So you want to use the Heikin-Ashi candles as an indicator, but you don't want to solely look at them. They're awesome, but they can fake you out sometimes. All right. So this is a downtrend right now. Ideally, if you want to enter any sort of trade, you want to see an uptrend on the monthly. So you want to actually see a green candle. However, as we said, the Heikin-Ashi candles are an indicator. And right now, this is starting to show a little bit bullish. And that's because it takes data from the previous candle and the current candle, and it puts it together to make a new Heikin-Ashi candle. Okay. We can just talk about volume overall too for Tesla. I mean, this is insane volume. So if you see high volume and you see a high uptrend on a candle, that's suggesting strong momentum as far as continuation. If you see it, for example, this is a high volume right here, but it's a red candle, well, then you're very likely to see a continuation on a downtrend. All right, so let's just zoom this in here to the hourly, or we'll do the weekly next. Now, Heikin-Ashi candles here. You have 1, 2, 3 green uptrend candles. Now you do have a fourth one, but as you can see, it's starting to be a little flatter and it's about even there. And that's starting to indicate a downturn. So if that continues down, then you're going to start to see the monthly Heikin-Ashi candle reflect that. Okay, so the more you go out, the more delay you're going to see as far as candles and price action and things like that. Okay, so we can then go down to the 1 day. And we'll just adjust this here a little bit so we can see it better. Let's just turn auto on for a second. Now, what I wanted to talk about with Tesla is something similar that I talked about with the Nasdaq, because this is such an awesome uptrend here. If you are a bull and you're looking to get in Tesla long, you want to see this come down, have a higher low, and then bounce back up. And it might even go sideways for a little bit. It might, or even go like this and then come back up. All right. So, and that just gives the TSI time to come down and reset and come back up. All right. So if we're looking at, let's just see, let's just do a path here. So you see it, you want it to see maybe come down and hit that moving average right there and then come back up. That's the most simplest we're looking at. But you know, you could also do something like this where it comes down, comes up, hits its previous high again, and now it's creating a floor. And this floor is giving validation to people that want to go long. And so as it gives validation, you're starting to see higher lows, and now you're seeing higher highs, and that's where it goes and takes off. All right. So we can go down to the hourly on Tesla, as I said. And if you're looking to trade this long, you want to see a bounce off of this green moving average. You could even see a bounce like how we talked about before. And you want to see a higher low, because look, here is a lower low, and look what happened. You bounce up over everything and you still came back down. So if this were to bounce up here, if you were to go like this and go up from here, then what you're doing is you're seeing a higher low, because this low right here is higher than this low right here. Okay. But if you see it come down, do another path and go down to something like this and then bounce up, then you're most likely going to see a continuation of the downside, or at the very least, that's how you should treat it as far as probability of your trading. All right, so we can finish up here. We'll do a couple of the cryptos, the big boys. We got Ethereum on the monthly. I am still on the logarithmic scale right now, and there's not a ton of data as far as the TSI right here. However, we do have one point, and that's where the TSI on the monthly called this downtrend pretty darn accurately. Okay, so that's something we want to watch. On the Heikin-Ashi candles, at least for right now, we have a flat, we have a doji, which symbols a potential reversal. Okay, now let's go down to the weekly. And that's why we're seeing that doji on the monthly, is because of this uptrend right here. So it's taking previous data, previous candles, and it's creating a new Heikin-Ashi candle. Okay, so that's why we're seeing that. Same thing, if this comes back down and you see a higher low and starts to bounce up and you get over this 100-day moving average, you know, you could enter long here, and you could put a stop loss, trailing stop loss, or however you put your stop loss. Just keep in mind the next resistance is going to be this 50-day moving average. If it comes down and you see a lower low, bounces back up, as far as everything is considered, it's showing patterns of a continuation of the downside. On the daily, we actually have a pretty high spike right now. There was some good news just overall about China exporting more than what it has been able to since COVID outbreak. There's just been overall a little bit better news as far as the supply chain is concerned. And that's good, just good for markets overall. Ethereum is a blue chip crypto. As soon as the market starts to come back and the Fed pivots, I believe Ethereum and Bitcoin will start to come back as well as much of these altcoins. All right. So if you want to take a look at Ethereum on the 1 hour, also don't forget the 4 hour, but we'll have to do that in a different video. Right here is a good example. You have an uptrend. If you're not including the wick, some people include wick, some people don't, but if you're not including the wick, this is a bounce up. So this would not be terrible to enter, except for the fact that overall we're still on a downtrend and the TSI is pretty high. So some people are bottom dwellers and they scalp this kind of stuff and they do really short-term bull runs on the way down. It's higher risk, but you can do it. So this is something that if you're interested in as far as the next couple days are concerned, because remember this is the hourly, you could enter here and just see where it goes. You know, it's not a lot of volatility though. You're only talking from, let's just say, you know, 1788, which is where it's at right now, up to 1826. Not terrible, but you need to buy a whole Ethereum, you know, a whole ETH in order to get that. So, you know, if you know, maybe you want to reflect that into, you know, mining tickers, and you can do a credit spread or do a call, something like that to maximize your gains, because that's just a small movement right there. Bitcoin, we'll zoom out, save the biggest one for them all for last. Now, unlike Ethereum, this does not have a doji candle right here. Ethereum has just had a higher uptick. There's a catalyst in play. Ethereum is a smaller cap. Sometimes Ethereum just runs before Bitcoin. So that's what we're seeing right now. As far as everything is concerned, Bitcoin is still on a downtrend. If we go to the weekly, we're going to see about the same thing as Ethereum, but just a weaker uptrend. Okay, so it hasn't even reached this 100-day moving average yet. As far as the 1 day, now even though we were underextended or low on the TSI down here, we're a little bit high up here, but not terrible. It's not up in the red right here yet. Again, you could technically play this up. You know, maybe you want to take profits when you hit this 50-day moving average. So you're looking from 23.7, 23.5 up to, you know, 260. Now keep in mind, as this goes up, this 50-day moving average will still come down. Okay, so one last thing I just want to take a look at is if you just look at, let's just zoom out to the weekly for a second. I just want to show Matic as an example of, if you're sitting on the side right now and you have cash and you're waiting to get in because you don't short, or you know, you don't play the downside, you just play the upside, pay attention to the tickers and the cryptos that are doing well when Bitcoin bounces. Because, you know, when it comes back, when the market comes back, do you want to be in Matic, or do you want to be in something that's like Shiba? Do you want to be in Matic, or do you want to be in something that's like Doge? Okay, there's very much of a difference, you know, and you can go to, you know, like for example, you know, Crow. Do you want to be in Matic, or Crow's actually starting to have a pretty good uptrend right now? But nonetheless, pay attention to which ones are having a really strong uptrend. You know, like the biggest clear example is Doge versus, you know, something like Matic or Ethereum. Which one do you want to be in when the market comes back? All right. So if you have cash on the side, you can still pay attention to the markets and see what you want to get into when everything comes back. All right. I really appreciate you guys watching. If you want to see more of this content, please like, subscribe. If you subscribe, please hit the notification bell. Share the content if you like it, and see anyone that would have value from this channel. And we'll see you next time.